Welcome everybody back to Gringos Liberados. This is episode 5 here in Split 1 in 2024. My name is Trajan. I'm joined by 404 and Axeman this week for the week when things have started to kind of fall apart. Things have started to change in the CBLOL here. We had our blue side memes. We've gotten rid of that, right? We decursed ourselves. We worked it all out with blue side. We're all friends now. But the standings are starting to change. The teams are starting to shift. And this is, I think, going to set us up for a very, very exciting second round robin. And let's talk about that one first. Because last week, Loud was in first. We were like, well, Loud skipped the sleeping, skipped their napping stage. And they're just going to win. Just going to win everything and then win. And we're going to see them at MSI, boys. But now we're back to a three-way tie. And it's still KaBuM, Pain, and Loud. Now, guys, they've all had their stumbles of varying types. They've all got their own unique issues. So we need to try and work out who is going to end up on top here. You know, like which of these issues is going to last too long? Which of them is going to actually get it together? And I guess 4x4, to ask you first, just give me your initial take on these three top teams. Like, who do you think is, are there any imposters here, or are they all just kind of like rock, paper, scissors in terms of their issues, you know?
I think that's the best. That's like your best case scenario is that they are kind of rock, paper, scissors. I think, yeah. I mean, look, Loud. Obviously, the elephant in the room is they finally lost again, right? They lost to Pain in week 1, and then they lost to Los Grandes in week 2. Like everyone thought they would. And Loud, not for nothing. Their next week's schedule, Keyd Stars, KaBuM, both on red side. Do with that information what you will. But Keyd Stars, KaBuM, that is a first place and fourth place team, and that fourth place team, quote unquote, is a game behind first. So you could slot them in that same bucket. I wouldn't, but you could. I'm not going to tell you what to do.
Yeah.
So you could look up and have Loud be 6-4 by the end of next week, which is kind of wild.
Yeah.
But for me, look, we do this every split. We've been doing this since life was very different the last time Loud didn't win a split. Right? Let's project ourselves back 18 months ago. Weren't we all weren't we all a little happier? Weren't we all didn't we feel like we had a little more hair on the top of our heads?
Yeah,
right? We felt like our waistline was a little slimmer.
You're not going to call us out that directly, because you've picked out some of the older people on the broadcast for Y4, and you've really gone for the throat with these ones.
Don't ask me why I'm wearing a hat right now. Don't ask me. I'm not going.
Oh dear.
Hey, I'm approaching esports boomer. I turned 27 in a month.
Yeah.
But yeah, look. Again, wake me up when playoffs start. Although I'll put it this way: if I had to do kind of a current power ranking, I think I would still put a tier list. Let's say, would still put these three teams in the title contender bucket. I would put Pain slightly ahead of Loud, just based on current form. That's not to say, like, if you had to ask me right now who's going to win the split, I'd still say Loud, because that's just kind of what they do.
Pain, Loud,
into a different animal.
We've seen that one
exactly. Like
8,000
again,
times.
we could fast forward, right? All this content is kind of irrelevant. We just do it because we like it. I'd still say Loud win the split, but not based on current form. I think it's Pain right now. They are one of two teams who have beaten Loud.
Yeah, CBLOL is WWE, you know, it's all scripted from the start, but we still watch.
Exactly.
We still watch to see it unfold, you know? We got to maintain kayfabe somehow. But Axeman, what 404 said that he put Pain a little ahead, I'm kind of on board with that one as well right now. How do you feel about Pain? Do you think they're actually superseding and starting to make a run for first? Maybe for realsies this time?
The issue, it's recency bias for me. So this past weekend, Robo got his teeth kicked in by Super Clever. And we're all like, oh my gosh, Robo, what happened? But you guys already forgot what happened, like, literally last week. The same thing happened to Weiser. And it was Mace that kicked his teeth in. And I got to say, between losing to Lost and losing to Liberty, I think losing to Lost, there's something a little bit more noble to it, right? I mean, Liberty, it's a total dev roster, man. Peloto, Cavallo, Mikau. I mean, that is this is a roster.
All respect to all 5 of those players, but they have all been the butt of our jokes at some point.
Yeah, and they just beat the tar off of Pain. Yeah, I don't know. I think Pain definitely, Weiser certainly solved his problems this weekend after that performance. So, you know, maybe it's okay, and maybe you guys are right, but for me, I put them on pretty even footing right now. You know, super dominant, but apparently just randomly dropping games to Academy top laners.
Yeah. I think, like, so Pain are on a 4-win streak right now. It's the longest currently active win streak now that Louds has been slashed. They did get to 5. But I think with Pain, there feels like a more direct improvement from week 1 to now, whereas Loud have been doing the same thing for 4 weeks and they finally didn't get away with it against a team that wasn't another top contender. I think Pain, especially because their issues seemed very focused for me. In my mind, it seems very obvious it was bot lane. Titan and Curry weren't getting it done. Weiser did have an absolute shocker versus Makes. We can't take that away from Makes for sure. But I think that the bot lane seemed to be the most consistent issue. Every single game they're having problems, and they've steadily stopped throwing. Then they're going even. Now they're 2v2 killing, and then Curry had that absolutely bonkers Ashe game last week that was just solo carrying that game, and now they are still very much on the same page, and they're 2v2ing very consistently, and this seems like Pain just needed some more time to get the pieces in place. So I have more faith in Pain to continue that, at least for now. In terms of Loud, we'll see if anything changes straight away, right? Because we're fresh off that L, so we haven't seen their response to it yet. They have different coaching staff than they used to. Perhaps we will see some sort of different response or shift, whereas last time they would just coast until playoffs and then win.
Yeah, I think it's weird to talk about Loud right now, because for all that, like you said, things have changed in the offseason, and again, you're probably seeing some of the fruits of that. But even that draft that they ended up losing to, oh gosh, I'm not going to try to pull it up again. My mistake. I closed it down. I have 10,000 things open, but look, it was still Root on Callista. It was still like, it wasn't just this crazy draft. Like with Weiser getting his teeth kicked in by Makes. Okay, you played Kale into Cassante, and like I was watching some Academy with RMC yesterday. Look, either every top laner in Brazil all of a sudden just like figured out how to play just Z tier League of Legends, or they just figured out Cassante, because that champion looks really, really silly. Right? Yeah. Like all the Cassante memes from last year, throw them out, put them on their head. People are starting to figure this champion out and just see, if I know in what order and how to press the buttons and know my matchups, there's nothing this champion can't do.
Yeah. I think when I see good games on the Udyr as well from people like Super Clever and FNB, those are the top laners that I'm like, okay, there's depth here. It's not just the Cassante moment. There is a little bit more cooking under the hood, at least for our new players that we haven't seen as much from. But I think something interesting is that none of us have mentioned KaBuM. None of us even mentioned KaBuM. They're 6-2. Yeah. And no, you know, as a team that is also on the same record, did go down to Loud. I think... Who else did they lose to? Was it Pain? That's the only two teams they've lost to?
They've only lost to Loud and Pain.
So they've only lost to those two teams. Is this enough for us to say, well, they're just they're actually third, you know, they're not actually first? Or do we think there is still room for them to continue? Because they have still been building this project out. Malrang is playing a variety of things. Howes has even gone to the Talia now. He's shown a bit of control mage play. Won an MVP in that game.
Is goofy. Talia is
very
strong,
goofy.
Dude.
Very goofy.
Like, and then Tinone's haters are turning over in their graves right now. Because once he get that champion back in his bucket, it gets real. It gets a lot more Thanos-y for Loud.
Yeah, for sure. And then like Lonely's been doing solid for KaBuM, and then Natuno Sales has started to gel a bit as well. I think they maybe needed a few weeks to bed in. They've started to do some nastiness in 2v2. So I think that KaBuM, we can't write them off yet. Yes, they lost those first 1 or 2 rounds. That was against like, you know, a Pain that arguably hadn't really got it together yet, and allowed that in you know, the first 4 weeks had glaring holes in their game. So I think that, I don't know if you guys have a difference of opinion. I still want to keep KaBuM in the conversation. Do you guys think that we can we do that, or are we like, well, you can be in the picture, but like you're not gonna be in the finals, you know?
That's tough. I mean, that's an interesting question. I mean, I think there's no reason they couldn't be. I mean, but I guess if you were to point to a reason that they couldn't be, it's because they haven't beaten yet Loud or Pain. And they had 1 game on red side, 1 game on blue side. They will get to match up against Loud this coming Sunday, the 18th of February. So they'll get a chance to do that. I just still, I think I've seen more from. It's weird sitting here and not docking as much from Loud and Pain for losing 2 bottom teams. Right, like we're holding those upsets against them less than we are holding, you know, KaBuM had in theory more acceptable losses. That is more significant. But I am excited in the way that KaBuM is sort of gelling, right? But that's the other thing, I guess, is that you have reasons to be hopeful for KaBuM, because we talked about like, okay, what other levels can Loud show? What other levels can Pain show? Right? Is it even worth talking about that with a team like Loud, because are they only going to show up during playoffs? Seos like when they put him back on the Nautilus, like him and JoJo.
Yeah.
To me, right, they're guys that like you put them on like your Nautilus, your Rakans, your Leonas, they're going to make hell all over the map. They leave lane at such good timings. They gank, they help their junglers invade. They are just really, really good on those champions, and he was monstrous against Furia. Now Furia, they're kind of a mid-table team, okay, but still got to get it done, and they kind of monstered him. So I like where KaBuM is trending. The part of me that what I'm afraid of is that maybe it's just because House is on this team and I can't escape this with him.
There's a cloud over it.
Is that like, again, it's like, is this just Fluxu from last year? We're in the middle of the split. They're gonna beat Pain. They're gonna beat Loud, and they're gonna end the season, 14-2 or whatever, right? Or 14-4. Loud and Pain 13-5. And you go, this is finally it, and then they get bounced in the first round.
Yeah, we've been there before. KaBuM featuring House has done that before. Finished first regular season, literally 0-2 or 0-3 to just like 0-2 in terms of match score out of playoffs, and then we had the Fluxu, and that was before Fluxu even happened. So like, yeah, man, there's always that worry there. And we'll see if KaBuM can try and right that ship as well. New coaching staff potentially, they can try and fix that issue. Axe, if you had to pick, or I guess just before we move on KaBuM, do you feel like there's hope there, or are you on kind of a more doomer train with the House show?
Yeah, so my thing is, if KaBuM's biggest strength is that they're not gonna drop these little spoiler games to teams like Lost and Liberty, and that's gonna be like their biggest selling feature, it's not gonna matter, right? I mean, all three of these top teams are gonna make playoffs. They only have to win like 2 or 3 more games to lock it, historically.
Yeah, 9 or 10 is normally enough. I think normally the boundary somewhere around there.
So they're all going to be in, barring something, horrific. At that point, once all the teams are in playoffs, and their seedings might be crazy, maybe they're 4th, 5th, and 6th, who knows? But at that point, Loud and Pain are going to come alive, and they're going to get in the finals, and I don't think KaBuM are. I don't think they have the experience to do that. So that would be my take, is that none of them are dropping out of playoffs, but only Loud and Pain have what it takes to make finals.
Sure. Yeah, I could see that for sure. And yeah, you can beat everyone else, but if you can't beat Loud, what are we doing? That's you got to come first if you want to go international, if you want to like really make the mark here. Pain have been coming second for years, and everyone laughs them out of the building when they see them in the arena now, because it's just become such a thing that even though they are so obviously more successful than anyone else except Loud, no one cares, because it's just so funny. So
second place.
Yeah, something else I want to touch on to bring back what you said about you think it's going to be Loud and Pain up there, and then to bring in what you mentioned about JoJo 404. Red Canids are 4-4 right now. They are languishing in joint 5th. And we still don't seem to be putting it together entirely for this team. We saw Frosty come out again against Loud, and they gave Loud a good run for their money, for sure, and, lost. But I think Red has just become the most confusing. I don't know how good or bad this team is from minute to minute, let alone game to game. So 404, when you mentioned JoJo being such a strong on the Nautilus, give me your take on this support situation that they have, where we're still seeing Frosty every now and again, or, do you think there's any still value being found there, or are we just going to need to be like, JoJo, here's your crown king, please win?
Look, I've been vocal about this from the start. There's nothing against Frosty. I just put a 6-man roster out there, right? And if you're throwing Frosty and if you want to get accurate data on Frosty and you put him out in a game against Loud, what are we doing? It's like, oh, he got blasted. Well, yeah, shit.
He didn't get blasted. He did all right.
Yeah,
he did all right.
He did okay. Okay. So maybe that's kind of your selling point.
The only upside, really. I'm searching
throw him in
for
the deep
here.
end, right? Yeah, I guess. But I don't know. For me, I've never been a fan of a 6-man roster. I think they would be much better served just riding it out. But I mean, I'm trying to pull up the drafts of the 2 games here. Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking at it as well.
Okay, against Loud, Vi, 45 minutes. Yeah, I'm feeling okay about Red. I'm feeling a little less panicky than I was before. They played Brand. They put Aegis on a carry jungler. I like that. It's going back to things that just we've seen with the meta. I'm gonna say not like as open as it is relatively open in that you can play. I mean, look at freaking Aegis's last champions.
Yeah.
Brand, Vi, Amumu, Xin, Lee Sin, Nocturne, Jax, Jarvan, Sejuani, Viego. We got every single game. Yeah, exactly. Like, so he can play a number of different things. You can play a number of different styles. And I think they're trying to find what works best for them. I think it is pretty apparent that having the, just again, like put Grevthar on. How did they win the split in 2021 and 2022? Put Grevthar on an enabler, play for Aegis, let your bot lane cook, and then FNB is like, he's like Impact, right? In the LCS, you can put him on a tank, he's going to be fine. Put him on a carry if need be, he's going to be fine. I think he has shored up his performances as well in a couple of the early games of the split. What I was concerned about was him kind of getting caught out before crucial team fights and before crucial like objective takes, and then his team just goes into everything with a 5v4. So I think that has been cleaned up a little bit, but I like that they've shown different looks, and I think I'm a little more okay with Red right now. They've got Furia and Pain next week, so again, you got to go 1-1 there at minimum to keep the ship afloat. But it sucks because of your early stumbles, that would still only put you at 5-5.
Yeah, I think that with all the kind of hullabaloo about the supports and like, what are we doing here? Is this worth it? Are we wasting time? Are we losing stage games for JoJo? Should we be swapping Frosty? What's the strategy here? I think that something that was mentioned in the cast, I believe, by somebody in the last week or two, that might be slipping under the radar is that Brance has, I'll caveat that he just had a game where he got a pentakill and a quadra-kill, but up to that point, he was having a super quiet split. It was he was a little invisible, right? And like, you can change the supports all you want, but if your AD carry isn't going to be able to step up, then, there's a bigger hole to be filled there. And I think that we really just haven't seen as much from him, and they lost Titan. They needed another Titan level element, I think, to make this work, to be a contender, and we thought they had it. And until, like I say, last game versus Liberty, literally, which is the worst bot lane in the league, and I think that's pretty cut and dry, Macau and Cavallo being at the bottom there, we have seen basically hide nor hair of Brance, and I think that was a big issue for me. So Axeman, in terms of Brance's split, I don't know if you think that we can still be confident about him, or if they think that Red as a team can still function without necessarily having like a top 2 AD carry to back it up from the bot side.
Yeah, no, I think Red last split we were calling him more of a super team when the roster got announced, right? And it's weird because it's not like they really lost that pedigree going into this split. Trading in Brance for Titan for most of us would have been either a positive move or like a 1-to-1. But you're right, it hasn't worked out that way, really at all. And there's this thing from Mize Esports. They posted, I think, yesterday. There was like a spot on Brance, a lot of cool stats. They got a lot of cool pictures taken of him and stuff. I guess they hauled him in and they did a bunch of media stuff with him and everything. Called him, the Red Sniper. And but it was like a get back piece, right? Like back on his feet. Because he hasn't been Brance. He hasn't been Brance in like a month. I don't know. Hopefully he's back now.
Then he got a penta and a quadra, right? So maybe it worked. Maybe he just needs to get juiced up,
Yeah, exactly. And hopefully he's got the juice now, but I think a couple things are good. Zaya's back in the meta, which is good for him. And hopefully the meta is moving back towards what it was last year, because he hasn't been performing well in this like weird little Varus Jhin meta.
With also Caitlyn that like he and Titan are playing sometimes. Ezreal if they feel like it. Like it's probably out and out. He's been nerfed, but it's a weird meta in bot lane. You've also got Senna Seraphine, you've got Ashe. People are throwing a lot of stuff at the wall down there, and they always just kind of go back to playing Kalista and Varus at the end of it all. So we'll see, I suppose. I think for the rest of Red, I'm pretty happy with them. I'm still very happy with FNB. I think Aegis, to say, I love the depth of a pool. I think he's still doing Aegis things. Grevthar, I really hope, you know, as weird as the bot lane meta is, I think the best thing that can happen to Red is the mid lane meta changes away from being Orianna, Azir, Corki every game, because it's just not for him, man. You said it, 404, like, this is an enabler. This is a guy who can play Ivern mid if you ask him nicely, you know? Like, and we saw the Lysandra come out of him again, and that was a very impactful game from him, one of his most, after a few weeks of kind of snoozing through it. And it's been the Nico, it's been the Lysandra that has been the best for him. And these mages just we've got a lot of good mids and like control, like kind of hyper carry mids, and bless him, his Victor's pretty clean, but I think it's just not his best route of attack here. So hopefully for Red, they can at least stabilize. They're not like losing to bad teams necessarily. I think we have a lot of good teams, honestly, with like how Loss and even like Furia and VKS are performing. So a lot of our knee teams are doing very well. And I think that Red might still get there, but I think they're probably going to maybe end up like 4th, or maybe they drop down to 5th and have to lower bracket run it, which could be dangerous.
Yeah, I still don't see them missing playoffs, like you said, but yeah, it's just you can't like just now. Just the margin of error becomes a lot thinner, right? Like you can't lose to Furia on Saturday. Then you got Furia Pain, okay, 1-1. Then you got INTZ Los, kind of got to go 2-0.
Yeah, and Los, like, if they could beat Loud, if they could take apart Loud, I think one of the things that I'd seen in that Red Loud game they had was, I had it in my head that Red last split with Titan, and functionally a very similar roster, was the only team that looked to me like they could out-team fight Loud to win a mass series, and I think even in playoffs, that looks like it was true. I think they went 1-3 versus Loud, and there was some real big Titan, like, giga throws in that series, and Aegis as well, that they really had control of the momentum in that series and threw it away, and Loud clutched it. You know, Pain got their win finally, but I still don't think that overall they were as competitive. Yeah, it was...
That series sucked.
It was very unsatisfying in a way. So I think Loud that Red roster was the only team that could have beaten Loud. They didn't, but I think they're the only one that could have. And now I still kind of felt like that after the first day, after Saturday, when the team fights were very close, and then Lost went and did it anyway in the way that I wanted Red to, so I can't say that it's just Red anymore. And the players that they have, I think with the ceiling that they can reach, they could still beat Loud. I don't know, this would be clinging on to KaBuM here, but it's like, if you put them all at max output, I think they can out 5v5 Loud. Very few other people can, I think, especially in playoffs. So I hope they make it there, and I hope we can maybe get some something to make up for that last Splits playoff series between them, which, as Axman said, was a bit grim in the way it panned out. So, Red's down the mid pack. Loss is popping off. Now 4-4 as well. VKS, just before we move on, I want to touch on VKS because they're just in the middle. They're just splitting at 5-3. And are they actually better than Loss and Red, do we think? Do we think they're actually a noticeably better team? Because I kind of feel like they snuck in there and like no one noticed that they're in 4th, and someone's going to grab them by the collar at some point. Right? You know? So, I don't know, 404. I'm not convinced of VKS yet, even if they're 5-3.
I mean, it's weird because there's something in the back of my head that says I'm not either, but their only losses are to Pain, KaBuM, and Red. Oh. So, like, they're only losing to good teams.
Yeah.
So, like, if you put them in 4th place, I don't really have, like, an argument for that. They have to play Loud first game on Saturday, so that should be a really good game. I think we're going to learn a lot about them there, because I think Loud will also come back with a bit of a vengeance, right? They're not gonna like the fact that the questions are being asked, like, say what you want about the regular season form. I just don't see Loud kind of just not showing up for that. That game against Keyd Stars. What I think has been encouraging is that they've been getting contributions from other places as well. You've seen Gigo and Smiley as well just start to perform a little bit better. It's not just the Takui show anymore, so I think that's what's giving me a little bit of hope and maybe starting to erode away my skepticism about them. I'm more convinced. I don't think they're title challengers by any means, but I'm more convinced that they are like a legit, like, if at worst a litmus test team. Like, they're not winning the split, but I wouldn't be surprised if they like took out Pain Loud or KaBuM on the way to a finals run or something. Like,
they could definitely catch KaBuM going over the hill and just sweep the leg, and they tumble down to their inevitable Fluxu-esque demise. I could see that storyline happening. And they have lost. They have Loud, and then they have lost. And the VKS loss match, I'm very interested by now. Especially, I was already be interested, but now I'm very interested, given what lost did to Loud. So this is kind of the battle between the benchmarks, almost, I think, because the way Lost play, I think, is not susceptible to getting tripped up by worse teams. And VKS, I feel like they feel more susceptible, they feel a bit more volatile, but they do have enough kind of good things to keep them getting over the line against the lower level teams. They pull it out of the bag, but I don't watch all their early games versus all these teams that they've won and go, yeah, this is definitely a better team wearing purple right now. So Lost versus VKS should give us a bit more clarity on that.
Yeah.
Now, what I would like to do is reopen a discussion that I started with Rude Dude yesterday, and then he very smartly said, you know, this is one for Gringos Liberados. So what we're going to do, guys, we're going to talk about top lane. We touched on it a little bit, but the question I'd posed to Rude was, where would you actually rank Chiari now? Because this was just off Fluxu's win. Very, very clean win, I might add. One of the cleanest wins we've had over INTZ. They took them apart, and it looked very, very easy. And I was thinking, you know, I wasn't that happy about Chiari coming into the split. I was running out of goodwill for him. I wasn't feeling confident. I needed to see something for him. And he's proceeded to show us a lot of good things. But so has everyone, you know, not Tay, but everyone else in top lane. So I think we need to think about this, and I want a little tier list, just a little tier list for the boys.
Hell yeah, little tier list ski,
just like a little one, just you know, just a little, just to keep you guys going. You know, you all got any of those tier lists going. So we have the top lanes here, and I want to go through this with you guys. So I think, to start us off, we can probably just kind of put the man here. Would we put him here? And this is between C and D tier for audio listeners.
Yeah, let's put him in C for now.
Gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. Tay, we'll drop Tay in C for now. The next on the list is, I believe, Destroy.
Yep.
And this is Furious top laner, who we have seen at least one strong game of. But how are we feeling about Destroy right now? Because there's a lot of pop-offs up there. My gut is that we haven't seen as much from him, but do we think he's actually bad? Or is this just the way Furia play? Because, you know.
I don't think he's bad. I just think like so much of Furia goes through other parts of the map. Right? I think and maybe it's because maybe just for me, I'm more familiar with their mid and bot lane. And so to me it's like, I think mentally, honestly, I think I kind of just lump Destroy and Mirror into this, they're the Korean duo working separate from this other side of the map that is always popping off. And Zion Ayu just takes so much of the limelight. I'm fine to put him in B tier right now. He hasn't actively, I think he's only actively cost them a game like once, if I'm remembering correctly. No, I think he's been perfectly serviceable. And you know, and I'm willing to give him again some grace because he is betting into a new region with a new team, etc. Right?
Yeah, and I think this B tier we can maybe kind of put Lonely in here as well. I don't know if he's earned himself an A. He might have, but this B tier kind of feels like my bot laner is IU / my bot lane is the Tuno tier. You know, it's like I play Udyr every game and I am serviceable because. Have you seen my AD carry kind of thing? So not necessarily their fault. We don't see as much out of them because that's the way the cookie crumbles when your bot laner is like an MVP. So for Lonely though, do you think he's earned an A tier? Or would we just No, why is that?
Not.
Definitely not.
There's too many good top laners.
I suppose this is a relative scale. So we can probably put him, if we'll order them, I can put him above Destroy. I mean, obviously his team is a lot better than Destroy's. But I think we have still seen more from Lonely. There was that Nara game that is going to be my argument to put him in B tier, basically, because we've seen that one Nara game where he did a lot of solo lane antics, a lot of solo big ults and fights. So we'll leave them in the Yeah, literally. My bot laner is an MVP tier. And we'll capitalize the B because this is B tier.
Good.
Okay, now FNB. I know, Axeman, you and I, the co-chiefs of the FNB fan club for many splits now. Are we feeling a big fat S for the FN boss?
S tier, 100%. What I love about FNB is that stats wise, everything you would like view as like a healthy or good stat that a good player would have, FNB is dead last in. But everything that's like he did what or he could do he's like second place. It's so funny. Like if you look at stat like CS per minute, he's second only to Tay in the worst CS in the league.
Good
but
Lord.
if it's like kill participation or KDA or something, he's the best, number one.
This is why we kept RMC off this, because otherwise we'd have to justify our positions with statistical basis, and we're not about that. We're about.
No, we're not about that at all.
We're vibing it up here.
This is Brazil, man. We just got done with Carnival, man. We are it is only vibes.
We're still coming down.
FNB is the type of top laner in your solo queue games to like run into a bot lane bush when the wave is pushed up and sit there for 3 minutes and then just explode out of the bush and kill your bot lane and then teleport back top after missing 4 waves. It's great. He's the best.
Yeah. He's the best. 404. Any contesting opinions there for S or?
I think he should still be an A, personally, because I think the stats do matter somewhat. I think he would be probably the best of A. I'm not ready to put him in S just yet because I don't know. Maybe I am.
But his Udyr
maybe the
so
games that I've casted, I've seen him. I have
one last stat. I have one last stat to push you over the edge. FNB has not lost a game to a former Academy top laner this split.
Oh, that's big. That's a big stat. That's like that. You put that on a lower third.
That's a weirdly. That's a weirdly relevant stat.
Yeah, a lot of our S tier top laners have been tripping over that relatively small hurdle. I think so.
There was that reminds me of there was a. Axe, you might have seen this. You're in. Wait, actually, hold on. Settle on a debate. Wait, Axe, where do you live right now?
Where do I live right now?
Right now.
Salt Lake City, Utah.
Okay, were you born in Canada?
Yes.
That's what. Okay, I was talking to RMC yesterday, and he's like, Axe is Canadian. I'm like, well, he lives in the U.S. He's like, yeah. Well, he's Canadian. I'm like, I think he's born in Canada. Maybe I don't. Okay.
Yeah, I'm Canadian in every relevant respect.
Yeah, in kill percentage, you know, solo kills, all of these stats, Canadian. He's Canadian. And what's
crazy is
Salt Lake all the way through.
What's crazy is as far as like the people that on our broadcast right now, there's only one person that was born in the U.S.
Yeah. We're not very America-centric, no.
No, because Vancouver, Dia, and RMC were all born in Canada. I was born in Brazil. Root and Trajan were born in the UK.
Yeah.
Solari was born in, I think, Russia. And Soph was born in Brazil as well. That's wild.
Oof,
anyway, to only a slightly less relevant thing. There was a graphic. So LeBron James, his son plays for USC. He's playing college basketball right now. And he's not the best player on his team though. Like, kind of not even close. I think he's just starting to be in the starting lineup right now. But there was this graphic that a TV broadcast ran, and that was like, USC's big three, and it was like all these stats about this one player, all these stats about this other player, and then LeBron James Jr., Bronny James, and there was just one stat, and it was team player.
Yikes!
Like, man, you really had to just pigeonhole in. You had to fit Bronny in there any way possible. That's what that stat felt like.
That's crazy. The shade on that one is dark. That's grim. Okay, right.
So I will still keep him an A, but I've been outvoted 2-1. So
we'll put him in S. We'll see how far down S he gets, and then if we want to add extra clarity later. Next is Giga from VKS. I'm trying to think of this might be another member of the hasn't absolutely bottled it versus Academy top laners club, but.
Yes.
I feel like I've not seen anything else other than him notably not losing some matchups that other people have been losing. But like,
I don't know, man. For me, if you put FNB in S, you got to put Gigo in S. To me, I put them in the same bucket because I feel like I've seen more highs from Gigo than I have from FNB.
Maybe I'm not watching these VKS games right. Maybe I'm just looking at Takui the whole time. Am I just in
And
trance?
maybe I'm not watching the red.
Oh, I have as
right.
well. The other day, Trajan, I was like, man, I wish Pro Delta was in the league. And then RMC went, he's on VKS. I was like,
no, on VKS, bro.
No, he's not. Wait, who else is on VKS? He's like, Guigo. I was like, what?
I don't know what it is, man. They're sliding off of my brain like oil on water. I don't know what it is about VKS right now. They're 5-3 for goodness sake, and I just can't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I can't believe.
It's a really good team.
Yeah. Surely, right? It must be. Okay, let's put him in S as well. I don't have a good argument against that. Like, so I can't really be like no, because I don't have any reasoning for that. So I have to put him in S as well.
Yeah. Begrudgingly put Gigo in S. Yeah.
Yeah. So now we have Chiari, which is the whole crux of this debate. So Chiari coming into this split, I was worried he'd be like 3rd from the bottom. And I just don't think that's even slightly the case. I think, thinking about the impact that he has had against players like Super Clever and Makes, that we still have to go through as well, these academy players that have had very high highs, I just want to think about, because Chiari, I think, has been very consistently valuable. He has been winning a lot of his lanes. He's been a big part of these 3 wins that Fluxu has now accumulated. And I think on a roster with so many other shaky parts or like less experienced parts, having that like the guy who can slam cannon if you need him to kind of thing, as Super Clever is as well. Like we know that Chiari's got a lot of depth in that pool, and he's willing to play carries. He's willing to play back as well. So I think I would love to put him in at least A, just because I think that he's deserved at least that much, but that kind of makes me want to pull FNB and Gigo down to A as well, because I don't really want to put him like noticeably below them.
I would put Chiari in C tier. And the reason I would put Chiari in C tier is I don't think he's a very good top laner.
Wow.
Why is that?
Yeah. No, it's really fallen off for me the last few years. Years since Renska? Years?
I think it is years, technically. It's 2, I think. Maybe 2.5.
Technically multiple years.
He's in his 4th year in the league, guys.
Yeah, definitely in the known quantity, I would call him. But yeah, no, I don't think he's an A tier. Not by looking at the stats, not if memory serves. Also, did we put Tay in C tier? What are the qualifications for D tier?
I would have put him in D tier. We put him in C because it was kind of rude to put him in D to start the whole list off, you know. But I think
that is a little rude.
As a relative scale, I think I would probably, depending on how we end up with the rest of the tiers, I think Tay's gonna end up down there personally. But really, C tier?
Yeah. I don't think he's that good.
Damn, brutal.
I'd put him in B. I think he's very good. And I think he can carry you a game if you need him to.
I am super vibes based, so I'm willing to accept that I might just be rosy tinted on him over the last couple of weeks.
I think he's been playing better as of late. Yes, I agree with you there. I
would put him in. I can take a B for Chiari. I'd put him above Destroy as well. Does anyone? Do you think Destroy is better than him, X-Man? Do you think Destroy is a better top player than Chiari right now?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I think Destroy's having team issues more than anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that team's not gelling super well.
Yeah, they're taking a while to get going, Orfuria.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's come back to this maybe if we need to shift anything around later. Makes.
Maybe.
Liberty Makes.
I feel like I'm going to go Makes and Super Clever at the same time. I feel like solid A, right? I mean, their teams aren't winning, but they're taking games off top laners.
I would put Super Clever A. I would put Makes B. I don't think I've seen nearly as much variety out of Makes. We've seen the Cassante play and the Wiser incident, right? We've seen that. But I think that overall, I've also seen Makes get kind of clobbered on Aatrox. You know, I've seen him like I've seen him die to Udyr before level 3, which is embarrassing, that no one should be doing. We're 4 weeks in. We know how Udyr works now, guys. Like, so I think there are still some rookie mistakes coming out of Makes that would make me put him B. If we're especially with Destroy, Lonely, and Chiari filling out this B tier, I'd put him down there. But I would put Super Clever A. I think he has shown us a great deal more. 4i4, what is your opinion on these two stars in the making?
I think I'm right there with you, Trajan. Honestly, I would put Super Clever low A, high B, and I think we've seen like that Kennen game pushed it over the top for me. Is that he can again like one of the first to bust out the Kennen and perform really well on it against a very good team. He wins his lane and he team fights well. I think I think he will be a good solid top laner in this league for a few years to come. But I do think he's milking the Cassandra game a little bit.
You think he's a little carried? Just a little carried.
I think it is carrying his reputation just a little bit. Again, it's not to take anything away from him, but I'm kind of there with you. I would put Makes a solid B tier top laner. I think he's good.
Yeah.
Makes has not won a single game that was off Cassandra.
Yeah.
Damn.
He has not won a single game, and he only won 2 of the 3 games he played on it.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah.
My man is not on a good team.
No.
Yeah.
Man's is not.
And that's another part of it, especially
team,
on top lane. That could be so brutal.
Yeah.
Makes also dies more than any top laner as well.
I'm not surprised playstyle wise. And also, like, as you say, on a team that likes to just kind of throw fights together, and they tend to just try and clutch their way out of mid kind of 70-30s or 60-40, maybe even 50-50 situations. Sometimes he does it, but he's going to die a lot doing that, right? So yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah. A lot of that's in lane, like the one you mentioned, the Udyr kill. That's where a lot of the deaths are coming from too. It's not like, I mean, he's also just on a bad team, so he's gonna die more. But he's like throwing like bad deaths too.
Yeah, so I think there's definitely some shakiness there. So we'll leave him in B. Super Clever, I think has earned A. Now we get to Hobbs, Robo. I mean, putting him anywhere outside of S just feels like asking for trouble at this point. I've done my time calling Robo bad. I've been there. You know, I've gotten my impressions from it. I don't think I need to get any more. So I think we could probably just put Robo and Weiser up in S, and then it becomes about ordering and about maybe adding some definition to S and A, and maybe this B tier, because there's a lot of people in B right now. But that might just be accurate. So I think if we can at least put them up here to to consider. So who are we putting at the top of S? Who's going at the front? It can't be FMB if at least there's discussion about putting him in A. I think that's fair enough. Stats aren't completely fake. Sometimes they're fake, but they're not entirely fake. And Red are literally 4 and 4. You know what I mean? Like, I've seen fights where FMB is the one getting caught at Baron, and it's a big problem before. So, and Weiser as well has had some sloppy lanes, in a word. So, Gigo's not the best top in the league, is he? Surely he's not.
No.
No, I would consider giving him third best, but
maybe here
the best. What for my marbles, here's what I would do.
Yeah,
Robo and Weiser alone in S tier. Gigo, FNB, Super Clever in that order in A, and then Lonely and Chiari in B. Tay in D. Everyone else in C.
I like these two. I like this about A. I can probably deal with that.
I just don't think it's fair to put, like, because we've seen inconsistency for, like, Robo and Weiser. Like, again, for Weiser, I throw out that KL game because that's never going to happen again. That is not representative.
He played it twice.
Who he is.
I lost it twice. So he did it. He did it at least once, and then was like, "Nah, guys, I've got this. Trust," and then completely got rinsed by Mace.
And it was
Mace. So probably never again. But it did take him 2 rounds to learn that lesson.
Fair enough. You're right.
Weiser's a very consistent top laner. And he's also always in the finals, man. I mean,
and he's got that carry element. He can like win you a fight. He does a lot of solo team fight winning. Even off Cassandra, we've seen that he can do it on both, and that's like the same with Robo as well, right? So, and Robo has even had way less flops than usual. I think he's only had one absolute stinker I can think of, and it was maybe, I think it was against Pain in week 1, right? And Weiser
in game
completely
1.
opened
Yeah,
him up.
he got monstered.
So I think that this is probably fine. In terms of B tier, I kind of like... So I would swap Chiari and Destroy personally. I don't really mind which way they go, but I would swap them. And I don't want to put Tay I don't want to put a gap in there. Like, that seems, again...
Yeah, you can bump Chiari down. That'd make it
we're not bumping Chiari down, X-Man. We're not bumping Chiari down.
You're outvoted on this one.
We're not bumping Chiari down. So, potentially, I mean, I guess the idea is that our top lane feels very strong right now. And if the fact that there's, like, no real C-tier top laners, apart from Tay, maybe, is one that I can live with, if we forced ourselves to add definition, I would accept 404's suggestion. But Axeman, do you think any of these B tiers, besides Chiari, because we're outvoted you on that, do you think any of the others could move, you know, regardless or not if Chiari went down as like a conciliation? Like, do you think Makes or Destroy... I'm surely not Lonely, but do you think Makes or Destroy has an argument to be moved down? Just to define it.
No, not really. I mean, I would move Makes up again, but no, I don't think anybody would move down. I guess you could move Destroy down just because he's on like a team that hasn't had as much success. But I mean, if we're doing that, you know.
Yeah, I don't want to punish him necessarily too much on the results of the team, if possible. I'm actually okay with this. I think this is fine.
Yeah, I think it's all right.
As an average,
is what it is. The cap is absolutely representative of the stats. So
I mean, I kind of feel like it is, which is
it is, so
slightly sad, but also true. Okay, so this is our top lane tier list that we have arrived at. Feel free to engage on social media regarding this, everybody. Feel free to let us know if you think anyone is in the wrong place, in the right place, if you had any different ideas as to the best, if you think Tay does not deserve to be that far down, if you think Chiari is actually S tier, or if he's actually D tier, depending on who you agree with. So, the other thing that we want to talk about, the last thing we want to talk about for this episode is talking about players and rankings, but it's not a full tier list. We just want to talk about mid lane, and the question that has been posed by Solari in the run of show is, who's the best mid laner so far? So far. So the wording here implies to me that it's not as easy as just saying Tinones because, like, he's got 5 titles and he's blah blah blah. Now, he might still be the answer, but so far in this split, who has given us the best 4 weeks of mid lane? And I would remind you that Tinones did just die to a mid-karma in the last game. He got solo killed.
Look,
it was embarrassing.
I don't think that's that bad.
I think it's bad.
Karma's so strong, dude.
Bro's playing. He's got a shield. He's playing Orianna. Like, Karma is so strong. If you haven't got a Malignance and, like, you're not going, like, Rabadons, like, bro should not be dying 1v1 in professional league to mid lane Karma, in my opinion. Yes, the champion's super broken. Does a lot of damage. It's getting nerfed. But, like, it's got 1 damage ability. Like, you know? He's got to do your entire HP bar with Q alone. How is this possible? So,
are we still doing the thing where we don't judge them based on their team success?
Let's try to. Like, obviously, you know, we have to try and cognitively separate out how easy it is to play games when your team is crushing every lane. So in terms of the impact and the importance of those mid laners to their success, this can be a factor, but it has to be that you know, they need to be making big plays to factor those results in, if, like, they're getting wins because of this player kind of stuff. So to throw out some options, we obviously have Tinones. I wouldn't be able to live with myself if it didn't say House. Dinkato, Envy had a good last game. Takui as well, with a lot of Azir games, has been getting a lot of attention. Pilot even has been putting some shifts in on a team that is
getting better.
Pretty bad. So he's been suddenly getting better. So does anyone have any gut feelings, any instincts, Axeman, potentially?
I must say it.
He's gonna drop. He's gonna say it, guys. He's gonna drop it.
Foo.
Okay. Foo.
Say foo.
Gonna say foo.
I'm gonna say foo.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say foo. On Fluxu.
Okay, let's hear it.
I'm gonna say foo.
Let's hear about foo.
Is he's consistently the carry for his team, and Fluxu have beaten some seriously good teams. They're like one of the spoiler rosters we have. That means Fu has beaten some really good mid laners. I don't have Fluxu's schedule up on screen, but I know they've beaten, I think, Red. Maybe Pain?
They beat Red, Furia, and
beaten.
INTZ. The INTZ one's the most recent, so he's beaten Tuts, he's beat Grevthar, and Aethusa in the mid lane.
Aethusa, so
he has looked really good.
He's looked incredible. He draws Akali bans, which is really cool. Even in this meta, he does that. And also he like consistently gets like kills for his team too. Being able to move around the map. It seems like everything that happens for Fluxu happens because Fu did something, which I think is something not a lot of mid laners can say. Specifically, the ones that come to mind, like when you think about like Tinones or like Takui or any of those guys, you know, they might be really good mid laners, but like there's other things going on around the map for those guys, right? For Fu, it's all him. It's gotta all be him all the time, and he gets it done.
He leads the league in solo kills right now, tied with Tinones and Envy on 4.
Envy?
Yeah. Tuts and Pilot have 2, House has 1, and the rest are bagels.
Wow.
So, yeah, I was surprised to see Envy as well, I'll be honest. But, yeah, Food does,
I think
Envy
has had a... Yeah, I do like Axe. I disagree, but I do appreciate that especially if you're going from the premise of like, you know, given how little, if you're taking into account like trying to just isolate them and like even maybe reward a certain mid laner for having less around him roster wise. Yeah, I like the case for Fu. I think he's probably got it more than anybody.
He's a very
for my money
member of that team. He's a very important member of Fluxu, that's for sure.
Yeah. No, and like Axe said, he draws Akali bans. He brings a different dimension to the mid lane pool. It's just something a little bit more annoying that you have to deal with on an already kind of annoying Fluxu roster. And I mean that as a compliment, like annoying for other teams to play against. Yeah. If we're talking just who has done, just kind of nameplates off, who has given us the best mid lane League of Legends in the last 4 weeks, I think I have to give it to House. Man, he's starting to show a little more champion diversity.
This guy knows.
He has had hard carry games on a very good roster. So you can make the argument that, you know, if you're on a talented roster, it is tougher potentially to stand out. But you are given more tools to do so. So it giveth and taketh away. But I've been very, very impressed with House. He's had a couple very good Corki games. He's had that Talia game. Yeah, I think for my money, it's House. And then rounding it out, it is Tinones and Takui in some order in top 2, top 3.
Yeah.
I think the only thing I'm sad about is that he's not playing Azir. I don't know why House isn't playing Azir, because House Azir is like the most nutty Azir of all time, and it's barely even banned against them. It's been banned. It's overall doesn't even make top 6 most banned against them. Nocturne is the most banned champion against KaBuM, and it's been banned on their red side 25% times, none on blue. They could have been B1ing Azir, and no one could have stopped them. But they're just not doing it. I mean, he's still picking Corki and playing some of the most crazy Corki we've seen in the league, or, you know, even I watch LCS and LEC and I haven't seen a more impactful Corki, I think. So fair, but I want to see the big shuffles again, man, from House. That's my bread and butter. So
did you guys see, this is a total non sequitur, did you guys see Saturday after the Liberty loss game? I was casting with Yeso, and we had brought up the point that Nocturne was 100% pick ban, and it was only 1 of 2 champions. It was like Nocturne and Casanti. And Nocturne had been picked 8 times and banned like 26 times or something like that. Just banned every single game. And it got banned in the Liberty loss game. And then no other game that day did it get banned. It just went through the draft.
Wow.
Nobody picked it. Nobody
forgot about
nobody banned it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was so funny because Lost and Liberty just got rug pulled on the Nocturne ban. They both had to leave Azira for both of their mid laners because they thought Nocturne was still prio, and it just wasn't.
Yeah, they were the little litmus test on that day.
Because it's ironic you say that about Nocturne. Nocturne was the most banned champion into every team.
Yeah.
And also, it did not get banned at all on Saturday. I think it got 2 bans on Sunday, and Croc played it maybe. Yeah, those two things are directly related. Like, now that Nocturne isn't pick ban anymore, it will be more Azir.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just quickly checking the bans, and yeah, Nocturne is still sitting right up there. That's crazy. So I love the house thrower. You know, I obviously always will. This is playing to the crowd right here from 404. But I would offer Dinkado as another option, because this is a guy he's very, very rarely front and center on Pain, even throughout the years. They were B-Boy pentering, or they were Wiser smashing in lane, and then Dinkado was on Ori, he was on Azir, he was putting up good numbers, he was supporting well in team fights, and occasionally, when Annie was meta, he was doing a bit of active play for them. However, I think he has been, in a time when Pain was looking for a hero to keep them afloat, when Wiser was getting clapped by Liberty's, you know, Loud Academy top laner, and Titan and Curry were just not doing what anyone should be doing. They were just struggling down there. Dinkado has put up some very, very impressive stats over the start of the year. He's leading the league in KDA. He's top 3, top 4 in gold and in, you know, CSD and these kind of very important stats. He's, I think, been a very integral part. This meta is good for him, and he's making great use of it. And he is also finding some of these big team fights play, especially in the Orianna. He's been finding some great shockwaves and winning team fights by himself. So I would offer Dinkado as another option here. And I think Tinones has to be given at least a nod, because before the Orianna game where he died to Karma, he was like the best member of Loud. And I think it wasn't super close for these first 4 weeks. So, I mean, the fact that anyone's even voted for House makes me eager to jump on it, because now I can just 2v1 it and be like, it's House, because I've got another vote. I don't even have to work for it. There's already another House vote, so I can just say House. It's free. It's a W.
Yeah. Oh, it's the blessing and the curse of power. Right now, you got a decision to make.
Exactly.
I'm happy to concede Fu. I think House and
Fu has a great argument for most valuable mid laner in terms of, relatively speaking, like how important are they to team success, and it is good to give him at least an honorable mention for how he's been playing out in a strong pool of mids, another academy, very few splits under his belt, and everyone was kind of like, who? You know, no kind of pun intended, but
Fu,
and he was like, it's Fu actually, and then was like solo killing people over and over again. So you know, for credit to him, but I don't want to say Tinones because that's too easy. So I am just going to say House. I'm going to take that one. And they're still 6-2. And I think that he's been also super, super impactful in the team fights. But yeah, I think, you know, I'll serve RMC in his absence and say Dinkado also deserves some mention there for what he's been doing under the hood for Pain while I've been.
He's extremely consistent.
Yes.
Remarkably so.
Yeah, that Wiser and Dinkado core is just so insane, man, to put into any team. Like, used to be I'd include Karaoke in that, and now over the last like few playoffs I don't include him anymore. But as long as they're still willing to give him Maokai, I mean, no one's gonna play the map better, I think.
No, and now like and now he's got Poppy as well.
Yeah, he's good at everything.
It's coming back.
Ivern's playable. We saw a Karaoke Ivern a couple of times last split.
We did.
we saw it.
It was there.
Yeah, but we'll see if Pain can continue this run for sure. Okay, with that's about us, I believe. We are heading up to an hour. We've kept it nice and tight this time. We're getting better at it, everybody. And I forgot to check if there were any questions in the Discord, so I'm gonna super
really quick.
You can just super quickly do that just in case. I don't remember if we even asked Bren to put a thread in. So
we didn't, but he did it anyway.
Oh my goodness, he's cracked, but it's fine.
Community manager, goated.
Community manager goated. But I don't think we have any questions submitted there. I didn't find any on Twitter either, so that's fine. In the future, if you would like to do so, we will push it in the Discord, and we'll probably check on Twitter as well if you want to submit any questions for us to ask at the end of these episodes, and we will go through anything you want, pretty much, within reason. We're not going to dox ourselves, but other than that, you can ask about CBLOL, you can ask about us, you can ask about whatever really tickles your fancy at the time. And with that, make sure to follow us on Twitter, on Twitch, on YouTube, on TikTok, all of it. Join the Discord, have a great time, watch some CBLOL, and we will see you both. I'll see you both on the weekend, but I'm going to see everyone else potentially watching this on Saturday. See you later, guys.
Bye.